This individual will kill and he will rape. He will do anything he can to cause harm.
Listed in the prestigious Forbes 30 Under 30 class for 2023 was the young 26-year-old CEO, Pava Lepere. Sadly, on September 25, 2023, Pava was found on the roof of the Mount Vernon apartment building where she lived in Baltimore. She was half-clothed and was brutally beaten. On the night of her disappearance, Lepere did not know she was letting her would-be killer in the apartment building. The ex-con appeared to have issues with his key to enter the property. He waved to her, Lepere noticed, and believing he was also a tenant of the apartment building, opted to open the entrance door for him. The two exited the lobby, riding the elevator together. Later on video surveillance, the same man was seen entering the lobby through a stairwell, scrambling for an exit, and wiping his hand on his shorts. Lepere, the CEO and co-founder of the small startup EcoMap Technologies, likely died on Friday, based on what police theorized, but her body wasn't discovered until Monday. According to the company's website, Pava Lepere co-founded the company at age 21 while she was still attending college at Johns Hopkins University. She was a thriving entrepreneur and was celebrated by those around her for her ambitious startups, her activism, and her love for the city of Baltimore. Pava was reported missing just hours before the unfortunate discovery of her body. There were signs of obvious head injuries. There was visible trauma to her head, face, and body. Pava's death was dreadful. A brick, 3 teeth, and a broken hair clip were recovered at the scene. She died from strangulation and blunt force trauma. Her death was ruled a homicide. After law enforcement reviewed video footage in and around the apartment area, it was apparent that the suspect was following Lepere as she walked home. She did not seem to notice him. He kept his distance from her. Detectives also noted that about 40 minutes passed between when the man on surveillance camera followed Lepere into the elevator and when he left the building. But the man on the video was very familiar to law enforcement. He was a Tier 3 sex offender, the most serious classification in Maryland. A warrant was already out for his arrest. However, based on his apparent profile, the public was not notified. If only authorities saw him as a threat to the city as a whole. Lepere may still be alive today. The suspect on the video was 32-year-old Jason Dean Billingsley. He was released early from a 30-year sentence in October 2022 and was being sought by the police for the atrocities he committed just a few days before the September 22 murder of Pava. Billingsley was wanted for holding Jonte Gilmore and April Hurley hostage in the basement of a home on Edmondson Avenue in West Baltimore on September 19, 2023. This was the same day Billingsley didn't turn up for his mandatory treatment session. Detectives allege that Billingsley sexually assaulted Hurley, then cut her throat. He later poured gasoline on the couple and set the two on fire, all while a 5-year-old child was present at the home. Luckily, the couple survived. Jason was a maintenance man for the building on Edmondson. He broke into the tenant's home and had his way with the victims. It was not long before the police ascertained that he was responsible for the heinous acts perpetrated in the couple's home. Authorities said a backpack full of evidence was recovered behind the rooming house's crime scene. Inside the bag was a serrated knife, rolls of duct tape, several pieces of used duct tape. They observed that some of the used tape had hair stuck to it. There were also handcuffs, condom wrappers, and damp blue towels with apparent bleach stains. What was found next to the backpack was the evidence of a bleach container, along with a gas can and a lighter. Detectives knew they were on to the right suspect. Billingsley was profiled as a sex offender that doesn't only want to rape, but brutally harm his victims. The crimes he perpetrated were not random, and therefore not deemed an immediate threat to the public. Billingsley knew the persons he attacked. The first incident on Edmondson Avenue was not a random act. Had it been a random act, we would have put out a flyer right away, saying this individual was on the loose, committing random acts, Worley said. police officials shared that the department did not notify the public about Billingsley after the incident on Edmondson because they had no evidence he would commit random acts of violence. Once Billingsley was identified as the suspect in Lepere's killing, police released a description and urged residents to stay aware of their surroundings. On Wednesday, September 27th, after a days-long manhunt, Billingsley was apprehended at a train station in Bowie, Maryland, about 25 miles from downtown Baltimore. Court records show that he was charged with first-degree murder, first-degree assault, along with other related charges in the slaying of Lepere. His prior records showed that Billingsley was convicted of a first-degree sex offense in 2015 and sentenced to 30 years in prison. However, under a plea agreement, 16 years of his sentence was suspended. Billingsley was released from prison in October 2022. He served only 7 years of the 14 years conviction. According to the Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services, his release was not parole-related, but rather on mandatory supervision as required by statute. Apparently, he earned good behavior credits while behind bars. In Maryland, sex offenders can receive diminution credits for early release. The credits can be awarded for either good conduct, work tasks, education, or special projects. But there was more. His rap sheet did not begin there. Billingsley was also convicted in 2013 for a first-degree sex offense. After hitting the victim in the face and strangling her, he proceeded to rip her clothes off. He ultimately forced the woman at knife point to perform oral sex on him after she told him she had hepatitis C, fearing she would be raped. In 2010, he was convicted of assault after punching his then-girlfriend in the head and face, pinning her down on the ground. It is recorded that in both instances, he stole something from the victim. All 3 offenses were committed while Billingsley was on parole, and each incident occurred within a 1-mile radius of the offender's recorded home addresses, according to charging documents. However, it was not until his release in 2022 he was registered as a sex offender in Maryland's statewide database. After being arrested and charged for the murder of Lepere in 2023, Billingsley was also charged with attempted first- and second-degree murder. He was charged with rape, home invasion, arson, and related offenses carried out on Edmondson. April Hurley, the victim of the arson attack, plans on suing the property management and the owner of the building where she almost lost her life. Her claim is that both were negligent and did not check to see that Billingsley was a repeat, violent offender. Jason's trial for the murder of Lepere will commence on August 26th of this year. In the meantime, his attorney is fighting to suppress statements made to police ahead of trial. "We're relieved to know he can no longer hurt other innocent victims," the family said. While this doesn't change that Baltimore lost one of its most passionate, influential fans, our efforts remain focused on remembering and celebrating Pava Marie, her life, successes, and legacy. Lepere's family fought to pass the Pava Marie Lepere Act in Maryland's General Assembly earlier this year. This would eliminate sentence reduction credits. Frank Lepere, Pava's dad, spoke out to the media saying that there is no way in hell that he should be on the street, and yet he had already violated parole. The mayor shared the same sentiments.
There is no way in hell that he should have been on the street.
In January 2024, Maryland Governor Wes Moore endorsed legislation to restrict sex offenders' ability to earn good time credits that reduce their sentence, citing Lepere's murder. The bill was passed, and the governor signed it into law in May 2024. One can hope Jason Billingsley will not set foot outside of prison again, if convicted.